What's up guys, dafunkygibbon here with another deck profile video for you. This time it's going to be my Anti-Meta Gravekeepers deck to go in with the March 2012 ban list, the most recent ban list. I thought it would be fun to kind of, if you'll pardon the pun, resurrect the Gravekeepers a little, especially with things like Necro Valley and stuff. I think it can screw up quite a few different strategies. I used it in my last locals, went 2-2, which isn't bad. Both of the decks I won against were Chaos Dragons, and they were just eating themselves up because they couldn't remove for BLS, they couldn't remove for Chaos Sork. You know, a lot of their plays were really screwed up thanks to like one card in this deck. I've made a few improvements since then, or at least I hope they're improvements. So I'll take you through the deck real quick, and hopefully you'll see what you guys think. So you start off with, we'll start off with the Gravekeeper stuff. 3 spies. Obviously really good. Lets you special summon another Gravekeeper. So you might go in for like Recruiter or, well, quite a few different things you can go for. Moving on, 3 Recruiters. Obviously another great card. Obviously lets you do another search when it's sent from the graveyards. Obviously all of these Gravekeepers are boosted by Necro Valley as well, so they can become fairly useful beat sticks, especially these ones. Commandants, you know, you can either drop it from your hand to search Necro Valley, or when it's on the field, with Necro Valley on the field, it becomes a 2100 beta, which is quite good. Okay, next up is 2 Descendants. I only use 2 Descendants because I don't want to be tributing a lot. I mean, the effect is obviously good, and it's a 2000 beta with the Necro Valley, but I don't want to be constantly tributing monsters. You know, I preferably want to keep them on the field for things like Synchros and Exceeds and things like that. But they're useful anyway. Just the 1 Assailant. I'm debating possibly taking this out. Its effect is fairly useful. You know, it's kind of like an enemy controller, but then, you know, why not just run enemy controllers? So yeah, that's kind of 50-50 at the moment. Next up is 1 Guard. This is probably more handy, because not only if you set it, it becomes a 2400 defense you can hide behind with Necro Valley on the field. Also, when your opponent does attack into it, you know, you can bounce one of their monsters, which is good. Okay, so that's the end of the Gravekeepers stuff for the monsters. Next up is 1 Dark Armed Dragon. Obviously kind of self-explanatory. The only thing is, obviously, you can't use its second effect while Necro Valley's on the field, but you can still special summon it by having exactly 3 dark monsters in your graveyard. Obviously, I think as far as I know, all of the Gravekeeper stuff I use is dark, so that gives you quite a few options, you know. Sangan, obvious choice, obviously staple, good search. You know, searches most of the Gravekeeper stuff, if nothing else. You know, that's kind of a staple, really. Next up is 2 Malefic Stardust Dragons, which is, yeah, it's a great card because obviously, it's a really easy card to get out, providing Necro Valley's on the field, and also it protects Necro Valley from things like MST and Heavy Storm and stuff like that. So that's quite useful in this deck. Next up, we're sort of moving more into the anti-meta stuff now. We've got Spirit Reaper, another dark, so it's a good for Dark Armed. Obviously, it's a good shield to hide behind while you're trying to draw into what stuff you need. Next up is Gale, the tuner of the deck. Obviously, Gale's a boss card in any deck because of its effect, and obviously it's a tuner as well, so you can use it for all sorts. Next up is 2 Thunder King Rye. In this format, it tends to be quite a staple. A lot of people main it. This, combined with Necro Valley, can provide for quite a useful lockdown, because Necro Valley obviously stops your opponent doing anything with their graveyards. This stops them doing anything with their decks, which is great. And lastly, 1 Vanity's Fiend. This is a great card because it's basically a it's like a continuous Thunder King. You know, no special. Let me just read it if you're not familiar with it. This card cannot be special summoned. While this card is on the field, neither player can special summon monsters, and it's a 2400 beta, so it's pretty good. It's probably one of the most powerful monsters in the deck, this deck. Okay, so that's the monsters out of the way. I'll move those. and we'll go on to the spells. So first up for the spells is 3 Necrovalley, of course. You know, the staple really of this whole deck. It all revolves around Necrovalley. Not only obviously does it boost your Gravekeepers, it also stops your opponent from screwing around with the graveyards. Like I said, this card pretty much single-handedly defeated Chaos Dragons because they couldn't remove for Blackluster Soldier, they couldn't remove for Chaos Orc. It was great. You know, I hate to sound cruel, but it's a great card. Next up is 2 Gravekeepers Stele. I don't know, Stele. I say Stele. Select 2 Gravekeepers monsters in your graveyard and return them to your hand. This effect cannot be negated by the effect of Necrovalley, so it kind of gives you, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a pot of avarice because you get to recycle the monsters, but then at the same time, you know, they go into your hand as opposed to go back into the deck, so I guess that's a good thing. Obviously, you can recycle things like Recruiters, or a Commandant if you've run out of Necrovalley. You know, if your Necrovalley's been MST'd, then you can get out another one, which is good. Next up is 2 Smashing Ground, obviously standard monster destruction. You know, pretty good. As you can see, I've got 1 common and 1 gold. I'm after another gold if anyone's got one. Next up is 2 MST, really standards. You know, can't really explain that. We don't really need to explain that. And then 1 Dark Hole. For obvious reasons, I don't run Heavy Storm because it would affect my. Obviously, one part of my strategy is keeping Necrovalley on the field, so Heavy Storm would obviously mess that up a lot. And Monster Reborn I don't run because obvious, you know, Necrovalley stops it, so there's no point in running it. Okay, so next onto the traps, I have 3 Compulsory Evacuation Device. This is a great card. This, especially in this format where everyone's, you know, exceeding, especially against things like Dino Rabbit, where they're trying to get into Lagia or Dolka or stuff like that, or, you know, Gachi, anything really. You can obviously just bounce it, you know, and their summon is gone. You know, great. 1 Bottomless Trap Hole. Again, another good card. You know, kind of self-explanatory. 1 Dimensional Prison, another attack stopper, which is great. Dark Bribe, just in case they try to like Mirror Force me or, you know, or MST the Necrovalley. I mean, yeah, they get to draw 1, but I think it's a good price to pay. Mirror Force, obviously attack stopper. You know, can't really say any more. 2 Solemn Warning, obviously to stop them summoning. You know, always useful. 1 Solemn Judgment, and 1 Starlight Roads, which is another fairly good staple these days. So, okay, so that's those. Now onto the extra deck. The extra deck's relatively small for this deck. I mean, I could use a few more synchros, but it's nothing drastic. So I run 1 Chimeritic Fortress, just in case, because a lot of people run Cyber Dragon and stuff these days. You know, and obviously with presence of things like Karakuris, Machinas, wind-ups, you know, stuff like that. As far as I know, are wind-ups machines? I can't remember. Yeah, I think they are. This is obviously useful against that. In my side deck, I probably will be running a Cyber Dragon. I haven't constructed a side deck yet, so I'll probably run a Cyber Dragon just in case somebody tries to run Karakuris or wind-ups or whatever, so I can obviously counter that. Next is Flamvelt Uruquizas. I can't remember. That's another one I can't say. This is a great card. People don't play this very often, but it's very, very good. Not only does it have piercing attack, it also gains 300 attack each time it inflicts battle damage to your opponent. So it's, you know, I've used this. I managed to use this a couple of times on the weekend, and it did actually win me a couple of games, which was, you know, it's good, and it's really cheap as well. It's like £2, very, very cheap. Next, Stardust, obviously. I'd probably run 2 if I had to, but I don't, so 1 will have to do. You know, obviously it's good for removing for Malefic Stardust, or with Starlight Rose, getting it out. You know, general shenanigans. Next up is 2 Leviathan Dragon. Great cards. Can't really say much more about that. Everyone knows what it does. It's good. And lastly, 1 Utopia. Because them spies, obviously, that you can... You know, if somebody attacks into a spy and it's not destroyed, you can then special summon another one. and then obviously go in for Utopia, which is great. So I hope this was helpful, guys. I'll see you on the next video.